Hey guys, welcome to Dirtwiz. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to do a fork swap on the XT250. And we're joined today by Lakeman ADV himself, because let's be honest here, this project would not be possible without him. So we're going to be doing a full assembly today of the XT250. We've got it all torn down. Basically, we're just going to show you the whole entire process of assembling it, putting together, and then we're going to talk about some of the particular hurdles that we had to go through to get this swap to work. And yeah, it should be good fun. Let's get into it.
All right, so the first thing you're going to want to find is a set of donor forks. Pretty much any inverted fork assembly off of a modern motocross bike is going to work. You're going to need the forks, triple clamps, and the wheel and brakes off of the donor bike. We're using 2003 Yamaha YZ450 forks because we had them. So all the technical details of this swap are going to be about putting on these early 2000s Yamaha forks. I don't know if it's just our area or all around, but these are typically really easy to find used online. So let's get into it. All right, so the first challenge you have to overcome in any fork swap is just the bare minimum, getting the forks mounted onto the bike. In this case, for those of you hoping for a specialty tool-free swap, I have bad news. We did have to machine a custom steering stem. So what this is the factory YZ450 steering stem and lower triple T machined to accept the XT250 bearings. So this lower surface here has been machined for a press fit of the XT250 bearings. They're 25 millimeter internal diameter, so that's slightly oversized. Up here, this is machined for a slide fit of the same bearing, so it's just slightly under 25 millimeters. Then we have a thread cut here. It is a M25 by 1.0 thread here, and then we're using the stock thread from the YZ-T. It's an M24, but that's going to be whatever off of your bike. I have drawn us this fun little diagram here. It's not awesome, but typically someone with some machining knowledge could probably understand it. So this lower diameter here that's pressed into the triple clamp, as well as the height, that's just whatever is on the donor bike you have. And then this kind of 2 centimeter area here, mine measured out to 0.983 inches, or just above 25 mils. Middle diameter, doesn't really matter, less than 25 mil, probably 25.4 kind of thing. The top, that M24 thread, is 18 millimeters of depth. That's just how it was. And then we cut 41 millimeters height of that M25 thread to put it together. Now we're gonna throw it on the bike and show you how it all fits together.
Got that bearing nice and lubed.
All right, so once you go through the Hail Mary of getting that steering stem machined, honestly, put it in some local Facebook groups. I bet you'll find someone willing to help you. We can start assembling this. So we got that lower bearing pressed on. We're gonna slide that up through, get our new bearing and seal all greased up.
Oh no!
Okay, yeah, my washer ran away. Then we're gonna use the XT250 kind of cup. I don't know exactly what that's called. Put that on. Little factory washer goes on. Then we have the very strange XT250 nut that goes on. It's actually 2 pieces with a rubber seal in the middle. Can't really recall seeing that on another bike before.
It's such a strange design, eh?
And we're gonna put that on. We could probably fast forward this.
Yeah.
See, once this starts building up tension, it's if you've ever done trailer wheel bearings, it's the same kind of process. You're gonna tighten this up tight. Well, not super tight, but just tight. Get it sucked in, and you'll notice, well, now it doesn't really want to steer. That's just so we can seat the bearing in place. And then we're gonna loosen it a bit until we're not feeling any of the bearings, and it's nice and smooth. I'd recommend, if you're gonna go through the process of doing the swap, buy some fresh bearings.
Yeah, that's what we did here. Only the best for the little XT250.
Yeah, only the best.
Only the best. That premium. All the balls.
We're not sponsored.
Oh,
all right,
no.
So that's feeling decent now. Now I can go ahead, grab my top triple clamp. Our donor bike came with this aftermarket one. It should be the same procedure if you have a factory Yamaha triple clamp or whatever bike you're running. So throw that on top. And now we're gonna use our factory YZ450 washer and nut combo. Gonna put that on there. I'm not gonna make it zing and tight yet because I have to make the top and lower clamps align so we can slide our forks in. So we are basically following the stock routing here. It just takes a bit to do, and yeah, it's important to kind of get the wires where you want them before you slide in the forks, otherwise it'll kind of be a mess. So if your wires are kind of looking like this, we can slide in the forks. All right, we'll slide our forks in. Right now, it doesn't really matter where that end position is, because all we're really doing here is getting the triple clamps aligned so that we can tighten that top nut. So I'll get the forks in. I'm just gonna snug up a couple of these so they don't fall out, and then we can keep going. Now I got the fork slid in there. I know my top and bottom triple clamps are lined up, so I can go ahead and tighten down this top nut. All right, perfect. There we go. So now we got forks on the bike. And I know I said that's the hardest part. And it kind of is. I see a lot of fork swaps where guys successfully get the forks on, but if you want this to look like a quality swap, actually getting the factory headlight, fender, and all the gauges on looking stock is the hardest part. So I'll show you how we went ahead and did that.
All right, let's bring the handlebars up and get them sitting there.
Yeah, so we're running fat bars because this aftermarket top triple T takes fat bars.
And I mean, this is an upgrade that I would have done to the XT250 anyways.
Yeah, so pretty straightforward.
You know, a lot of people put fat bars on their bikes. It's kind of the way to go. I was running my XT. I don't know if anyone was able to see from previous videos, but those bars were bent for quite a while. I just kind of had dealt with it, but yeah.
All right, so for our steering stops, if you look in here, the stock YZ lower triple kind of has these nubs here, and in the factory configuration, those nubs would just hit a stop similar to this. Unfortunately, on this bike, they were too far back. So what we did is we drilled them out, tapped them with an M6 tap, and then put in an Allen head with this thick washer, and that actually hits the kind of stock tab and acts as a steering stop, and we still have plenty of steering. All right, so for mounting the headlight on this, these 2003 lower Yamaha triple Ts, it's almost like it was made for this. They have these two kind of nubs here where the number plate would have slid into. What we did is we hit those with an M8 tap, put in these Allen head M8s from the bottom up, and then they basically line up with these tubes on the factory XT. You just kind of gotta work it in a bit.
I could not believe how well those lined up. It's like
So it lines up good, and then what we did is we put these nylock nuts on so you can adjust the height of it. Now I'm gonna let you know how we did the top mount on this bike. Thing I wanna mention here before you get too carried away, make sure the ignition assembly is above the forks and kind of up here. Also make sure none of your wires are twisted and your speedo has enough cable that it can get way up here. Now, mounting, the headlight and the speedo and everything to the top triple clamp. On this bike, well, all I really had to work with was this number plate mount. So I made this bracket here. I just kind of traced some cardboard and freestyled it and made this. It's got two holes for the headlight and speedo mount, one for the ignition that you'll see, and then it's threaded in the middle, so I can just run a screw through here. Now, lucky for you, you don't have to guess. If you're doing the same swap, I'm gonna go photocopy this gorgeous piece of cardboard, and hopefully there's gonna be a link for it in the description. I got these scale marks here at 1 inch. If you're not in the US or Canada, or you don't know how Imperial works, 24.5 centimeters. Or is it 25.4?
something like that.
Oh, we're gonna have to cut that.
Close enough.
All right, so now I can assemble this. You kind of put your ignition right here. Then I'll grab my hockey stick looking plate. It's gonna go.
She's a beauty, eh?
Oh, she's a Butte Clark. That's not even a Canadian show, is it? Still, all-time best Christmas movie. And what I'm going to do first is kind of get all these lined up. And I'm not going to tighten them, but I am going to get a few threads going here.
Have them mocked up. So one nice thing about the Speedo that the XT has for this swap, and why you're able to retain the usage so easily, is the main Speedo drive for the XT250 is actually coming from the transmission. So that's one extra cable you don't have to worry about routing from the front and trying to put a mechanical Speedo drive or mess around with magnets. Of course, if you have like a Trail Tech...
Thanks, Yamaha.
if you have a Trail Tech Vapor or something, you'll have to do that. But for reusing the stock dash, it actually works out pretty nice that it has transmission drive instead of front wheel Speedo drive.
What I want us to take a look at next is, if you look, this kind of swoopty-doopty bit here that I put in is here for our ignition, as is that third hole here. Now, you'll notice there's quite a distance through there. So I machined up this spacer out of some aluminum. If you don't have a lathe, well, you don't really need a lathe to make this. You could just cut a piece of pipe, or you could stack a bajillion washers or a bunch of nuts up. Doesn't really matter. So I'm using a 5/16 bolt. I think it's 4 inches long. If you're somewhere that likes metric, you could use an M8 bolt, probably about 50 millimeters long. So have that. And the other thing I want to mention is removing the Speedo, removing the ignition from the factory XT triple clamps.
Boy.
It sucks. You basically have to drill out these security bits.
It was a nightmare.
And then Mike, come here with the camera. So it's kind of recessed up there, so you could just put a nut up there, but it's a pain. So I got another spacer, put that other spacer there, and then I can tighten up my nut, and we got a real tight ignition. Yeah.
Currently moving the adjusters down on the headlight assembly.
I'm lowering these just so I can get this, our hockey stick looking thing, which is the technical term for it, to slide under here.
That hockey stick mount, eh?
Oh yeah, bud.
Oh yeah, bud.
And I know it does, because we've assembled this a few times. It's just being a pain.
Yeah. Here, let me hold the bars.
It's just being a pain because the camera's on.
That top stud's getting cross-checked.
There we go. So now I'm just gonna make sure I don't have any cables getting pinched. I'll move that out the way.
I guess I could get my key out of the way too.
You could.
Yeah. Only make things a little easier.
Where's the fun in that?
All right, and we should mention that you threaded.
Yeah.
Right into the hockey stick.
Yeah, so the cardboard technical diagram does indicate that this has an M6 thread tapped into it. So if you're gonna buy a tap for this, get an M6.
Yeah.
So you'll use it again for your steering stem stoppers. You could also just use a 1/4 inch, but sometimes it's sacrilegious to use imperial threads on a Japanese bike, even though I've done it here too. So once I tighten that top one, I can kind of raise up my bottom adjuster nuts how I want them. And also mention, so if your bike doesn't have these beautiful number plate mounts to mount the headlight to, you could also kind of machine a plate that would come out from the 4 fender bolts and up, a couple holes drilled in it, that would accomplish very similar things.
That's a really, really good suggestion, actually. Yeah. Every dirt bike should have a front fender on it, so there's always somewhere to mount something.
That's right. So now that we got our gauge cluster mounted, our headlights solid, we're gonna go ahead and kind of put the forks where we want them, and then we can start putting some plastics on and buttoning this up.
Hell yeah. She's starting to look pretty. So it's kind of good that we disassembled it today to show you guys all this, because I noticed that my clutch cable here had actually been getting pinched between our steering stops here, and it kind of shredded the outside of the cable. So I've rewrapped that with a generous amount of electrical tape. And I'm just going to take a zip tie here and tidy up all these cables keep them a little bit closer together and up out of the way of that Mr. Pinchy steering stop there, because that would have really sucked out in the trails, just losing my clutch randomly.
All right, so brakes are obviously a pretty important part of a motorcycle. So how we did the brakes on this is we're using the XT250 master cylinder here. That way we're also retaining the stock brake light hookup. We have it hooked up to the YZ450 caliper. And in between the two, we're using a 140 millimeter brake line from Amazon. We're not using the factory Yamaha brake hose for two reasons. One, on our donor bike, it was destroyed and useless, so that was out. And these early Yamahas had a real strange brake line routing, apparently because Honda held the patent at the time for the more conventional brake line routing. So I'm going to throw this on the bike, and then we'll give you a rundown of how we got it hooked up.
Oh, 4K all the way. Even though my channel average, I like doing 2K, honestly.
You can't tell.
No, not really. Well, unless you're probably watching on a TV, you could probably tell on a TV.
Yeah, but I don't have nice TVs. So.
But like 50% of your viewers are watching on TV.
I know.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Okay, just gotta feed it through. Hey. Little.
Yeah, now you gotta fish the hose through. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's put that here. Fish it to the side. Beautiful. Beautiful. Nice little P-clamp action.
Yep. And then does it line up at the bottom with the zip tie holes?
It does. It sure
Perfect.
do.
Tighten that up. Then we'll zip tie.
Absolutely perfect. All right.
Mike's working on his own bike. Rarity.
No comment.
He's gonna edit that out.
We're good. It really kind of looks like the Tricker like this.
All right, so we got our wheel on there. No funny business there. It's the YZ450 wheel on YZ450 forks, so it just bolts right up. And then we got our brakes on. You can kind of see our brake routing here. We have it routed on the outside. I just found when I had these on the inside, it got awfully close to the wheel. I've never had one of these come off. So on our fork guard, got two holes drilled here for zip tie. And then here, we got it kind of through here. Then we have a 1/4-inch stainless steel P-clamp bolted on, and that clamps the hose there solid so it doesn't move. Coming up, here on each triple clamp, I've kind of put a spacer here, and then a 3/4-inch P-clamp, cable management, top and bottom there. Forms a nice loop as it goes to our stock XT triple clamp. Looks really clean and sano and works really good. So almost got a finished bike here. Let's throw on some plastics.
Oh yeah.
All right, so because we used all this stock headlight bracketry, our headlight cowling, we kind of cut off these stupid wings here.
They flopped on the stock XT anyways.
Yeah, so we got rid of those. And now you just slide this on and it uses all the factory mounting. So it looks
legit. It does. It really looks legit.
And then for our front fender we're about to put on, we are using a, surprise, surprise, YZ450 front fender.
What?
Because
YZ450 forks.
Yeah.
I love how you say YZ and I still say YZ.
I said YZ once in a video, and
I'm like, what the heck is a Z?
There were some unhappy commenters.
Well, let me tell you, bud. I know what a Z is.
Yeah.
But do you know what a Z is? Is a Z a Z? Something like that.
I always thought YZ sounds better, but DRZ.
No, DRZ sounds way better. That's true.
It's DRZ.
That is so true. DRZ, DRZ. Weird.
Anyways, tell me in the comments why I'm wrong. Looking at you, Raymondo.
Raymondo. This thing's looking sweet, but it's going to look even more sweet with a fender.
We return now to Michael working on his own bike. Almost as rare as him awake before 9.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one.
That's right.
That's true. That's true.
Pretty big install here. He got 4 bolts to put on.
I'm really doing the heavy lifting here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, look at that. Looks really clean. Works really good. And while Mike's doing this, I'll just explain some basic geometry. So these YZ forks are way longer than the stock forks.
Way longer, 2.5 inches.
Yeah, 2.5 inches longer. So if you just threw these on and rode, it would kind of handle like a chopper. So if you want this to work properly, you need to lift up the rear end as well. Mike's got a video about some raising links we made. I think we lifted the rear end 1.5 to 2 inches. And then any other handling problems can probably be addressed by sliding the forks up and down in the triple T's here. We got them probably sticking up about 1 centimeter. You could go 1.5 centimeters, 2 centimeters, or even 0.5 centimeter with that handling. So anytime you do a fork swap, there's going to be a bit of a trial period where you're working out all the bugs, to say the least.
Also, when putting on different size tires, I mean, those adjustments will have to be made as well. Like, even on my stock XT, when we put this big fat kenda on the front, it actually raked it out enough that it was noticeable in handling until we actually dropped the forks up into the trees. So that was interesting. Also, those lifting links that we made are ridiculously easy. Anyone with a grinder and a drill could make those lifting links, like, really, really easy. So. Yeah,
so the hardest part of this swap is getting that steering stem machined. My experience with machinists has been, it seems most of them I know like motorcycles, so if you have a motorcycle related project, they might be pumped to help you out, or maybe you got a friend with a lathe, or someone like myself who has access to one. So, you know what, join those local Facebook groups and you'll probably find someone willing to help you out. It's not this lost art kind of skill that people online make it out to be in the grand scheme of things. It's not a difficult thing to machine.
People online seem to think that machinists are these like wizards or something that just don't exist within the realms of the internet, you know? It's like...
Yeah, so beauty.
She's looking pretty nice. Is there anything we forgot? I don't think so.
That's pretty well all it takes. I mean, again, getting that factory headlight mounted is kind of the key to a clean swap, and looking at the riding position, like, you know, you really can't tell there's any funny business happening there. The key switch is where it belongs. The gauges are where they belong. And everything looks like this could have been...
Almost factory.
Almost factory.
Almost factory. Really, really important to note before we wrap things up here is the stock kickstand will not be tall enough.
So yeah, we just cut this in half, put a plug in it, made it 2 inches longer, and the bike stands up nicely. This did make the XT way taller, but now it has an obscene amount of ground clearance.
Absolutely obscene. Like, this is just shy of, what, 14 inches? I think it's like 13 3/4. Absolutely crazy ground clearance. And the seat height is just about 36 inches. So it's still pretty easy, relatively speaking, for me to swing the leg over. Now, instead of both feet flat, I'm on the tips of my toes. But that's a little less bad in MX boots. So honestly, not too bad at all. It's still quite comfortable. Well, that's pretty much it, guys.
Yeah, hopefully you learned something. And if you want to do this, leave any questions down in the comments. If you have any other questions or feedback, let us know. I'm sure we're going to get a bunch of people letting us know that we're morons for modifying an XT250, but for us, part of the fun of riding motorcycles is modifying them. So,
I mean, the moment you modify a motorcycle, that's when it truly becomes yours.
That's right.
And, I mean, just take a look at this thing. It is quite a unique piece of machinery. So, massive thank you to Lakeman. ADV.
So
go subscribe. What are you doing? You're not subscribed? Go subscribe right now.
Oof,
what the hell?
Performance of the year.
But seriously though, this project has been amazing, and I've learned so much from this. So, I mean, all this next is just going out and taking this thing on some wild tests, and that brings me to what I wanted to ask you guys. What do you want to see us do with this bike now that it's been performance enhanced, if you know what I mean? Because we've already taken on some pretty cool rides. Next week I've got a hard enduro ride coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, real
hard enduro.
Hey, it was hard for me, all right?
I know. Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more like this or just like that. And yeah, you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.
Come on, camera, start. Nice. Holy crap!